Okay. So we'll just take a few moments to get centered, depending on your time zone. Maybe it's dinner time, or the end of your day, or maybe you're through that. So we'll just take a few moments to close our eyes and take a few cleansing breaths. And a deep inhale and a slow exhale. And as you exhale, relax your body. Draw in a cleansing breath and release any tension or thoughts, anything you have on your mind. Just let it go and set it aside just for this moment. And with your next breath, relaxing your body. Now relax your mind. And with your next breath, have a sense of releasing all thought and finding yourself in the present moment, open to receiving, being grounded in this time of transition that moves all around us, and reaffirming your ability to be grounded and present in this moment. And with that brief and grounding, centering meditation, Mark, you can begin this evening's talk.
Thank you, Gina. I think within that meditation is one of the great keys to success in life and becoming recession-proof, which is the subject of this talk. And that key is just to relax and let go of fear and anxiety and just be in the moment. The fear and anxiety that so many of us feel clouds our judgment and prevents us from seeing all the opportunities in front of us. It's just everywhere I've talked lately, the only subject people want to talk about is the economy, the recession. Isn't it terrible? Employment's falling, stock market's falling, housing is falling. And it reminds me of Chicken Little running around. The sky is falling, the sky is falling. The media loves a crisis. It goes back to William Randolph Hearst and even back further. There was, I think it was in The Power of Now, or not The Power of Now, this book, The Powers That Be, David Halberstam. I think it's where I read all this about how Hearst really discovered or really cashed out on the fact that fear sells newspapers. If it bleeds, it leads. Fear and violence. And that's what the media loves because it sells newspapers. It gets eyeballs glued to the TV. There was a front page of the Chronicle last week. I just said, this just sums up how crazy the media is. The front page main headline first had, maybe it was like 24-point bold on the left, fiscal crisis, bold cap. And then it had huge bold caps, 72-point or bigger, which 72-point is an inch high, so it was bigger. It went across, it was a banner headline across the whole top of the paper, Financial Armageddon. And I saw it and I thought, Armageddon, doesn't that mean the end of the world? You know, I mean, the media would love an Armageddon because they love crisis. they will exaggerate problems into crises and exaggerate a crisis into an Armageddon in order to sell newspapers and get eyeballs glued to TVs and websites. And it generates a huge amount of fear and anxiety, which the media doesn't care about. They care about their bottom line. And so we're just constantly hit with this problem. We've got a problem. There's a huge problem. There's a crisis. There's a financial Armageddon, which is totally absurd. I mean, some people are calling this recession a depression. This is nothing like the Great Depression. There will never be another serious economic blow like the Great Depression for a whole lot of reasons. The Great Depression was built on a huge financial bubble where the whole stock market was a huge financial bubble. Just as we've seen, we remember vividly the Silicon Valley high-tech stock bubble of '99, where that became totally overvalued and then crashed. The current problem is based on a real estate bubble, which I'm glad to see crash. I'm glad to see prices come down. I bought my house in '98. Within 8 years, by 2006, it had tripled in value. And I remember thinking vividly, this is nuts. This is too much. This is, real estate is getting way too high priced. It's got to come down because people can't afford it. It'll have to come down eventually so that people can afford it. We want the average person working an average job to be able to buy an average house. That's the American dream. And houses were getting way out of reach of the average person. So I'm glad they came down. I hope they'll come down more. I think they will. But this whole current recession is based on a big bubble in real estate that people refinanced, had a lot of cash, and overspent. I remember reading in 2006 and I think 2007 too, if I remember right, Americans spent more money than they made. Our savings rate was a negative number. When I heard that too, that was a huge red flag. This can't continue. We've got to build an economy that allows us to save money. Our whole economy was driven by consumers and by real estate going up and up and up, and people thinking they had really more money than they had as they refinanced their house and took out loans. That was the current bubble that caused the current recession that has burst. Now, the Great Depression, the reason we'll never have another Great Depression is the bubble was the entire stock market. And the ridiculous rule was that whatever you invested in the stock market, you could borrow 9 times that amount, 9 or 10 times that amount. So if you invested $1,000, you could borrow from your broker $9,000 and have $10,000 investing. So everyone was doing that, and the stock market was going up and up. People were making fortunes. All kinds of professionals, doctors, lawyers, high-paid professions, quit their jobs in order to just speculate in the stock market. Well, this was a huge red flag that some smart, aware people saw coming and got out because it created this huge, huge bubble. As people poured more and more cash into the stock market, it went up and up and up and up. And then the problem with that is most of them were on margin. As soon as that stock market dropped 10%, they were wiped out. You can't do that today. That'll never happen again. You can borrow as much as you have in the stock market on margin from certain brokers, but very few people do that. So it's not over-leveraged like it was. And today, even if you borrow and you have 50%, you have to have 50% of your money in there. So the stock market would have to drop 50% before you're wiped out. So there will never be a Great Depression. Plus, after the Great Depression, the whole country made several huge mistakes. Then FDR came in and he did a whole bunch of things that worked, and we see now exactly what worked to turn around the Great Depression. That taught us some lessons. So don't fear, this will not become a depression. It may be a deep and long-lasting recession. Okay, if so, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with a recession? Well, the way to deal is to take a deep breath and relax and let that anxiety go. Let that fear go. You can't see the opportunities ahead of you when you're feeling anxiety and fear and frustration. Take a deep breath, let all thought go, and then repeat this mantra. This phrase is the phrase that changed my life. I hit my financial low in my mid-30s. I started a business the day I turned 30 with no money. And the first 5 years were scrounging to get any kind of financing and were losses every month. And then I really hit a crisis where our distributor collapsed. We didn't get paid for 6 months' worth of sales. We were teetering on bankruptcy. 3 of the 4 publishers that started this distribution company went bankrupt. We were the last man standing, last person standing, and we were barely making it just because we had some good direct sales happening. We had a direct mail catalog, so we'd get checks in every day, and it was just enough to pay the rent and keep the lights on. But it was total struggle and loss and anxiety, and I kept covering things through my credit card, so I was $65,000 in credit card debt, and this was the early 80s, and that was a lot more money. And I really couldn't see the way out of the mess we were in. I couldn't see the opportunities in front of me. And I remember driving down the highway, and on the radio I heard this phrase. Somebody just said it. I didn't even know who it was, but the phrase was, within every adversity is an equal or greater benefit. And it was like a light bulb going off. I pulled over on the side of the freeway on the shoulder because I just knew I have to remember this, and I wrote it down in big letters. Within every adversity is an equal or greater benefit. Someone later said, oh, that's Napoleon Hill from Think and Grow Rich. I didn't know that. They said the actual quote was, within every adversity is the seed to an equal or greater benefit. But I just wrote down in big letters, within every adversity is an equal or greater benefit, and I stuck it on the wall right in my office, right above my phone. Then later, as I thought about it, I added in equally big letters, within every problem is an opportunity. And then actually several years later, I added a phrase I read in the Bhagavad Gita, which is 5,000 years old, from India, which shows you that there's nothing new in any of this. That phrase is, even in the knocks of life, we can find great gifts. Those phrases changed my thinking, turned my whole financial life around. Because when people kept coming in again, or I'd get another phone call and they'd say, oh, we got another problem here. Our distributor's not paying us at all, or we don't have the money to reprint this book, or there's this problem or that problem. I'd acknowledge the problem. We get the problems. We usually know what the problem is without having to spend too much time figuring it out. In a few rare cases, the problems are complex enough that we have to really analyze the problem and spend time on the problem. But usually, immediately, on a gut level, we know what the problem is. It's usually simple, like we don't have enough cash to handle this month's expenses. It's usually very simple. The problem we get, our distributor was not paying us what they owed us for the past 180 days. That was the problem. That was easy to get. I'd ignore the problem. And then I would just stare at those words, and I'd start asking myself, what opportunity is there right now? What benefit? What gift? Years later, as I looked back on what happened and how everything turned around, I realized those 3 words led me to find answers that I had not found. And I was thinking, those three words are all a little different. Each one asking those three, each one will give you some different answers. What are the benefits in the situation? What are the benefits? Lead you to reflect on what is actually here right now in your hand that maybe you haven't been appreciating. What benefit? Or even the original phrase, the seed of a benefit. Okay, what in this situation, in your financial situation right now, what possible benefits are there for you? Ask yourself that question and then let all thought go, relax, and then listen and see what answers you get. Then ask, what opportunities are there for you? Now, they're a bit different from benefits. Benefits are things that you already have or that are right there in your reach. Opportunities are things in front of you that with a few steps you could take advantage of. And once you see that opportunity, those steps are not that difficult usually for some of the opportunities. There may be some opportunities that are just too difficult for you to reach or too long or require more capital than you have or require something else you can't create in that moment. But there are other opportunities in front of you that you can take advantage of right now, as soon as you see them. So often when I've asked myself, what are the opportunities in this situation? And then I relax and I get these answers. Well, here's an opportunity for you right here, right now. I'll have this feeling, has this opportunity always been here? And so often it has been. It's been right in front of my nose, but I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it because I haven't looked for it. I haven't asked myself what opportunities are, even within this problem. Okay, here's the problem. I'm not making enough money. What opportunities are in front of you right now? Well, I could do this. I could do that. I could sell stuff in another creative way that I hadn't even thought of. I could consult people. I could get a website together. I could write a book. I could do all kinds of things. There's all kinds of opportunities always facing us. We just need to ask, what possible opportunities are there right now, and wait. There were people that saw opportunities in the midst of the Great Depression, and some of them took advantage of them. I know a guy who bought land, raw land in the Great Depression, cheap. There's also, I love the name Bibi Rebozo. This was in the powers that be, I think. Bibi Rebozo. He was Richard Nixon's buddy, golfing buddy. He, in the middle of the Great Depression, realized people couldn't afford to buy tires anymore. They were that broke. They couldn't buy tires for their cars. Well, for millions of people, that was a huge problem. For him, he saw an opportunity there. And he started just getting free junk tires and recapping them and selling them cheap. He made millions of dollars in the Depression. Where others saw problems, he saw an opportunity and took advantage of it and built a fortune. Well, that's true of all of us at every moment in time. There's opportunities in front of all of us. We just need to ask, what benefits, what opportunities? And then even, what gifts? Ask that question too, and let all thought go, and reflect on the gifts you've been given. All of us have been given some kind of gift to share with the world. Sometimes we don't even see what it is. Sometimes it just comes so naturally to us we don't even see it, or if we see it, we don't realize what a unique gift that is. It's one of the best things our friends do for us sometimes is show us what our own gifts are. But reflect on that. What gift do I have? What unusual piece of the pie do I see that maybe no one else sees? What have I been born with that I've just taken for granted? And even then, in this situation, can there possibly be a gift? Is it true that even in the knocks of life we can find great gifts? Well, yes, it is totally true if we see it. As Eckhart Tolle says in A New Earth so beautifully, he says, when people do encounter some great adversity, when the knocks of life, whether it's disease or a huge financial problem or whatever it may be, people react in one of two ways. There's people that get bitter and resentful, and those are basically the people that allow their fears to overcome them, their fears and anxiety. Or there are those that completely accept it and let fear and anxiety go and realize there's a gift there. There are people that use that difficult situation in life to be their wake-up call. So often you hear the stories of that. The people nearly died in an accident or of a major disease or something. They're laying in the hospital. That's when they have their wake-up call. That's when they change their lives. It takes knocks of life. Shakti Gawain tells of, she has a wonderful image. She says, the universe, as she calls it, or you could call it your intuition, or your subconscious, or whatever you want to call it. You could call it God. She says the universe. She says the universe is whispering in our ear, telling us exactly what to do to really reach our potential, our fulfillment, to become self-actualized or whatever, to do the best thing in every moment. The universe is always whispering in our ear, but so often we ignore it. If we ignore it, it like taps us on the shoulder. It'll send us some kind of stronger message. We're supposed to be doing this. If we ignore that, she says it'll give us a kick in the butt. Sometimes it'll take a car accident to wake us up, or a major disease, or a huge financial failure, or losing our job, or whatever. That's what it takes to wake us up. Some people don't even get it then, and they become victims. Well, by looking at opportunities, benefits, and gifts, focusing on that, you're no longer a victim. You become the co-creator, as Barbara Marx Hubbard would say. You become the master of your destiny. When I was on the verge of bankruptcy, I started asking myself, what are the opportunities in this? Well, what possible opportunities can there be in almost going bankrupt? What benefits? When I started asking that, I got answers. I saw, well, for one thing, I hadn't been taking charge of my company. For 5 years, we'd had losses every month, and I was always looking for the right other person to come along and run things. I didn't want to do it. I was the artist, the creative type. I wanted some other business person to come and take my hand, be the big daddy, handle everything, and help me out. And I realized that person hadn't come along. I had to be that person. My opportunity was to fully grasp total responsibility for the success of my company and quit looking for somebody else to rescue me. Years later, looking back, I realized that was a huge shift that changed everything in my company. Once I made that shift and I said, okay, this is my baby, I am responsible for its success or failure. And there is a lot of opportunities in this company. Yes, we're losing money every month, but we've got some great things going. We're going to turn this thing around. We're going to make it work. When I look back, I think what happened was my energy totally shifted. I think before that, the energy I'd been putting out into the world was, I need help. Please help me. I don't understand what's going on. I was a victim. I was a wimpy little loser needing help. That was the energy I was putting out into the world. Help me. Well, what kind of people did I attract? I attracted incapable people, some sympathetic people, but not very helpful people. Once I realized, no, the benefit in this situation was I had been compelled to start this company. The opportunity was this company could really work, and I needed to realize that being in charge of a big company or a little company is not all that complex. It's not beyond my limited understanding. It's actually very simple. All you need is good product, you need some way to market it, and you need financial controls. You need to get those three things down, and it works. This is not rocket science. It's simple. Even a simple mind like me can grasp what it takes. As soon as I started realizing that, my whole energy changed. And the vibe I put out into the world, or whatever, however you want to describe it, but I started thinking, there is real opportunity here for the right people to come along and support me in marketing my books and in some kind of financial controls. There is great opportunity for other people. I can make them rich if they work with me. And the right people came along, and they've been with me ever since. So by reflecting on whatever your situation is, what are the opportunities? What are the benefits? What are the gifts? I just got an email that made my day. It made my week, or it came, I think, last Friday. The email was, this guy lost his job. He had a wife and kids and a mortgage, and he was panicked, and he wandered into a bookstore. And he said, my book, The Millionaire Course, just called out to him, and he grabbed it. He bought it, took it home. He started to read it. He kind of sheepishly said, I haven't even read a third of your book yet. But listen to what happened. He said he realized what he really wanted to do, because the very first thing in Millionaire Course is write your ideal scene. He wanted to work for himself. He wanted to do custom woodwork. He could do that work. He loved doing that work. He had just never dared, never had the time. He'd love to do custom woodwork. But the problem was he didn't have any tools. He had no tools. Okay. So he started affirming. Okay, his goal was get the tools you need and do custom woodwork. His affirmation, he said, I am now getting the tools I need for less than 50% of their cost, because he couldn't afford them. So that's what he started affirming. And he put out the word he was doing custom woodwork. He got a call from somebody. Some woman wanted him to come look at her house. She had some kind of work for him. He went over to her house, was looking at her house, and he just happened to look in the garage, he said, and there was a workshop in the garage with every possible tool he could imagine. State-of-the-art, top-of-the-line, beautiful tools. He said, whose are these? And the woman said, oh, those are my ex-husband's. Do you want to take them off my hands? Do you want to get rid of these for me? And I just cracked up. He got all the tools he needed, and they didn't even discuss money. I mean, maybe he'll trade work for her or pay her off over time or what. He said she wasn't even interested in discussing, what she would want for them. She just wanted them out of her garage. So those are the kind of miracle stories that I love hearing. And the guy just was ecstatic. He suddenly had every tool he could possibly need. Well, how did that happen? He opened himself up to the possibility. He looked at opportunities. He started affirming a very specific thing, that he was getting all the tools he needs for less than 50% of cost. With the power of that affirmation, the whole universe said, here, I'll show you how you can get all the tools you need for nothing. I thought that was a wonderful story. It just made my day. So that's just a simple message I just want to hammer home. In every moment we have a choice. We can get fearful and anxious and insecure, or we can let that go and we can ask, what are the advantages? What are the benefits? What are the opportunities? What are the gifts? Advantages is another good word to ask. What are the advantages? What advantages do I have in this situation? The Course in Miracles has it exactly right. Every moment we have a choice between love and fear. And as long as we're feeling fearful, we're not even seeing all the wonderful possibilities that are arrayed for us at every moment, within every problem. Every time there's a depression or recession, there's a huge explosion of entrepreneurial energy. I read a whole article about this. A lot of the big, solid American companies like GE were founded right in the Great Depression. The recession of the late 70s brought us Apple Computer and Microsoft and New World Library and many other companies were started then. Every time there's a recession and people get laid off, many of them start their own things. And the ones that can see the opportunities for them, the benefits and the gifts, end up building wonderful companies or creating wonderful careers right in the middle of recessions. So keep asking yourself, what opportunities are there? What benefits? What gifts? One great opportunity for all of us in a recession is to learn to live within our means. Americans have been spending more than they're making. It's time to shift that. It's time to learn to live with financial control. I had to learn that for my company, and then I realized, well, I need this in my life too. What does that mean? It means you have a plan. You have a plan to spend less than you make, to have something left over, which in a business is called a profit, and in your personal life is called some savings. You end up spending less than you make so you have some savings. Have a special savings account. That's what I recommend. A separate account, checking account, where for years I did this. I don't have to anymore. Now money just piles up in my checking account, and I'm way ahead of the curve here, and I make a lot more than I spend. But in the beginning, I set up a separate account for savings. I had 2 checking accounts, and every check that came in, I would first deposit the check and then transfer at least 10% into my savings. Now, at first, I kept taking that to pay off my debt, and that's step 1. Get out of credit card debt. Get out of debt. Step 2, build savings. Learn to live within your means. Don't have that ongoing expense that you really don't need if it means that you're not saving any money. If you're not saving, really look at all your expenses and see where you can cut. There's huge benefits in a recession. One, it's good for the environment, for one thing, too. It's good for teaching people to live within their means. It's good for the environment. People are burning less gas. They're buying less junk at Costco and at Kmart and Walmart. Consuming less stuff that just ends up in landfills and uses up resources. We're learning to live within our means. That's a huge advantage of recession. There's all kinds of advantages when you think about it. For you personally, there's all kinds of benefits and opportunities and even gifts in this situation once you reflect on it. Of course, I can't tell you what those gifts are for you. You have to reflect on it yourself. Even if I told you my opinion, it would just be my opinion, which is maybe another great advantage of this whole situation. If even one of you can learn more to trust yourself rather than looking for answers elsewhere. We all know the answers. We just often don't ask ourselves the right questions. Good questions to ask yourself are what I mentioned. What are my gifts and strengths? What are the opportunities in front of me right now? What are the benefits? What gifts do I have to share with the world? What do I want to really do with my life? That's a great question. How can I possibly do that and make that work financially? That's a great question. Ask these questions and start affirming you can do what you love and make it work in an easy and relaxed manner, in a healthy and positive way even. That's a phrase I've said for years that has changed my life. I found you can not only be successful doing what you love to do, you can do it in an easy and relaxed manner, in a healthy and positive way. I only work when I feel like it. I don't do Mondays, I don't do mornings. I work when I feel like it, and I goof off when I feel like it. And you can do what you love, and you can make it work. Just keep focused on your dream and keep going for your dream. And don't let fear and anxiety overwhelm you. I often think that's 99% of the work that I did, and 99% of the work for everyone, is overcoming their own fears and anxieties and the old programming we picked up, the old conditioning from well-meaning parents, from our whole educational system, from our society, that is drilled into us. Oh, it's hard. It's hard to succeed. This is a difficult time. Oh, this is a recession. Oh, it's hard. People aren't spending money. People aren't buying my stuff anymore. Oh, this is a problem. We get that drilled into our subconscious. Our subconscious says yes to everything we allow into it. So instead of allowing all that stuff in, just keep allowing in, just keep telling yourself, I am now living the life of my dreams. I am creating success in an easy and relaxed manner. When those thoughts come up, this is so hard, say, no, I am now succeeding in an easy and relaxed manner. Those thoughts will keep coming up through the day, especially if you hear the news or glance at a newspaper or, oh, this is another problem. As soon as you take that in, say, I am now succeeding in an easy and relaxed manner. I think it's been an ongoing process and the most important work that you can do to keep replacing those doubts and fears with positive, visionary affirmations. You are a creative person. You can do it. You have the power in you to succeed, to do what you love to do. You can overcome those doubts and fears. How can you do that? By replacing them with affirmations. The universe says yes to everything. So tell yourself, you're talented, you're brilliant, you're capable, you're succeeding in your own unique, wonderful way in creating the life you want to live. You can do it. I love Obama saying, yes, we can, over and over. Yes, we can. Start telling yourself that. Yes, I can. Can I possibly do what I love and succeed? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Just keep focusing on that. Make a simple, clear plan and take whatever steps you can. And let those doubts and fears go. Whenever they are, oh, so few people succeed. I am now succeeding. A woman came up to me after a talk and said, come on, are you saying anybody can succeed? And I could just see her mind going, even me with all my problems? And I said, absolutely, anyone can succeed. She said, well, then why don't more people succeed? I said, how many people do you know that really even define what it means to succeed for them? And of those, how many make it a goal in writing? And of those, how many make a one-page plan in writing to create the life of their dreams? Very, very few. I did, and that's all that's necessary. You get a clear goal in your mind, and you go for it, and you let that fear and anxiety go. And all the people that tell you it can't be done, or it's hard, or oh, there's this problem, there's that problem, or oh, it used to be so much easier, it's so much harder now. I've had so many people say stuff like that to me, and I just blow them off, ignore them, say no. There's always been opportunity. There's more opportunity now than there's ever been. There's the internet now. You have global reach with an internet. You don't even have to leave your home. There's telephones, these conference calls. Here I'm talking to all of you. And I don't have to travel. You don't have to travel. There's instantaneous communications around the world. There's opportunity in that. There's great opportunity for you in every moment. Keep your eye on that. So I think that's enough for now. I could throw it open to questions. Do you have any questions? We'll take questions for 10 or 15 minutes, if you wish. Any questions, comments, observations?
Yeah, Mark, this is Jack from Oakland.
Hi, Jack.
And you gave some really good suggestions today. And one thing I want to ask you about is, I'll use an example of this Federal Reserve Chairman Bernanke. His thought pattern, he's given fear to everyone, and his thought pattern is totally into depression, and that's where he's coming from. And he's doing things that aren't working. He keeps doing more and more of them. Okay, now when you have a thought pattern, how important is, like you change your thought pattern of how your business should be run, and you actually change it to run it more efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little about changing your thought patterns so you can get new thoughts when something isn't working and do something that will work?
Yeah, well, that's exactly the process. I mean, we can't change anyone else's mind. We can't even let what Bernanke or Bush or Obama or whoever in politics we can't change their minds or make them any different from what they are. We can never change anyone else, but we can change our own minds. And you nailed it. The whole process is changing our habitual thought patterns. Being able to first even be aware of our habitual thought patterns, and simply being aware, I'm convinced we're halfway there. Most people aren't even aware of the ongoing thoughts that are going through their mind. Just becoming aware of them is half the battle. Because when you're aware of them, you become conscious of how many of those thoughts are fearful or frustrated or angry or upset or what we call negative. How many are negative or even limiting? And how many come and are based on limiting beliefs that, oh, it's so hard to succeed. Oh, the world's a mess and it's getting worse. So few people succeed. You can go on with all these negative things that we pick up when we listen to the media and when we listen to our own minds. Okay, once we're aware of that whole process, we're halfway there. Because when we find that thought coming up, oh, it's so hard, we go, cancel, or delete, or just let that thought go. Literally, we're creating new synaptic pathways in our brains. We say, no, I don't want to have that synaptic pathway that it's so hard, or it's so frustrating, or I can't do it. No, we don't want those old patterns. We want to just we want to delete those or just let them slowly atrophy over time and replace them with new thoughts, new synaptic pathways. Those new thoughts are, yes, I can do it. I can do it in an easy and relaxed manner, in a healthy and positive way. I want to do what I love in life, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to succeed in my own unique way. We literally keep replacing our thoughts throughout the day. And the best time to really make some real difference in your life is when you find yourself the most frustrated and agitated and upset and angry and fearful. That's really the time greatest secret of all in visionary business even. I think it's the core belief process. It works best when you're upset. And you become aware of those thoughts. You tell yourself out loud, what am I saying to myself? I'm saying, this is really frustrating. This is really a problem. I'm just totally out of control about money. I can't save. This is falling apart. My company's collapsing. Whatever it is, you become very aware of that. Then you finally dig down after these questions to what do I believe underneath it all? I believe it's hard to succeed. I believe I'm a fool with money. That's what I got down to. I believe I'm out of control. I believe it's a struggle. Life is a struggle. Once you get down to those beliefs, you can literally rewire your brain. You can literally reprogram those beliefs with absolutely opposite affirmations. When I realized I was telling myself I'm out of control, I'm a fool with money, I started, whenever that thought would come up, I'd start affirming, no, I am sensible and in control of my finances. I'm creating total financial success in an easy and relaxed manner, in a healthy and positive way. I told myself that a few thousand times over a year or so, and my financial life completely turned around. And that's what the work is. It's not dependent on what Ben Bernanke does or Obama does or anyone out there does. It's all dependent on you.
So basically, when you had your business and you weren't doing things right, you wrote down what you weren't doing right, and you asked, how'd you find out what to do right to be successful? Because you said several things you changed, taking complete control of the business rather than seeing how'd you actually get the whole thing changed so you knew what to do, and then you said the affirmations and you did it.
Yeah, it was the affirmation that came first. Once I kept affirming that I was sensible and in control, then the steps to take to be sensible and in control became very obvious. Oh. In fact, I kept thinking, why wasn't I aware of this before? I need to make more money than I spend. This is a new concept to me. It took me 5 years of running a business to realize, oh, you know what? My own problem is in my personal life and business life, I'm spending more than I'm making every month. When I finally realized, after affirming I'm sensible and in control, the first thing that came to mind was, well, to be sensible, you got to make more than you spend. This was a brand new concept to me at the time. But the specifics all just became very easy and obvious. I had to cut expenses. I had to let a few people go that just weren't working out financially. I remember having to let an editor go, and she said, and I told her exactly why. I said, the books you brought in have not made any money, and with the salary we're paying you, I said, either we've got to cut your salary in half and you work just half time, or you've got to double the number of books you bring in or double the amount of money you bring in order to make it work for us to keep you on as an editor. Her response was, well, Mark, that's management by the numbers. And I said, yeah, exactly. That's management by the numbers, something I hadn't done in the first 5 years of my career as a publisher. So it became simple and obvious as soon as I started telling myself, I'm sensible and in control now. I'm not out of control. I'm not a fool with money. So to me, that's what came first, finding the right affirmation to overcome that anxiety, and at the same time asking myself, what opportunities are in front of me? What benefits in this situation? What gifts? And acting on those. Then it all became obvious what to do. And it was simple. It wasn't complex. And the steps I needed to take were not hard to take.
You explained it very good. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, maybe that's enough for now. Maybe
Hello, Mark?
Yes,
Yeah, I got a question.
Okay.
I wanted to know where exactly does action come in? Like you're saying, when you're doing the affirmations and all that, where, I mean, because one of the things that I was thinking about is like, I mean, you can affirm yourself a lot of times, but what if the affirmation doesn't translate into actually you doing something? Because isn't it important to, I mean, affirm and then do something, the things that you're affirming, to take the actions that you're affirming?
Yeah, absolutely. The affirmation has to lead to some kind of action. And that's why I always push people, make a written plan, even in just one page, whatever you're affirming, make a written plan how you're going to reach that goal that you're affirming. And then take whatever steps you need to take. I've found you don't even have to be focused on a goal that many hours a week. It definitely doesn't take 40 hours a week. That's a purely arbitrary number we've come to believe. Even if you have a full-time job, you can start creating something really successful on the side if you're affirming it, and if you're focused on a goal, and if you have a one-page plan then, and then if you do something. What I often find, I usually have about 6 projects going simultaneously, and sometimes some of them get on the back burner, as I call it, or they just sort of lose energy, and because I'm not doing that action. So I take my plan again, my one-page plan, and I take my weekly planner that I've got, and I just make sure that there's something in there this week or next week, some step, even if it's only 5-10 minutes to accomplish it, even if it's just a phone call or just something. I make sure that I not only have a plan on paper, but I have some step in my calendar to do. Yeah, that's the other essential thing. I want T. Harv Eker sent me a CD, and I was listening to it and cracking up. I like a lot of what he says. He has people stand up, and he calls it declaring, not affirming. To me, it's exactly the same thing. But to him, declaring, he has people declare, for instance, I love rich people. I love rich people. Because he says if you resent rich people, you'll never become that which you resent.
Yeah.
But he said on there something I absolutely disagreed with him. I have to bring it up next time I talk to him. He said, affirmations don't work. He said, I sat there and affirmed. I had piles of gold sitting at my feet and nothing happened. And I want to say, T. Harv, affirmations changed my life. But because those affirmations, first of all, overcame a lot of my limiting beliefs, and then those affirmations led me to take the steps that brought those piles of gold to me. Of course, they're not just going to fall in your lap, the piles of gold. On rare occasions, they may. Like the guy finding the tools, or things may appear to fall in your lap once you're affirming things. But in most instances, that gold won't fall in your lap. But you've got to then get up, make a plan how to get that gold, and take the steps necessary.
Right, and the other thing is, like, if you're, what do you find works best? Like, if you're trying to change something, and is it better to change slowly, or is it better to make a dramatic change? Like sometimes, we have this, the subconscious, like, it doesn't want to change, too quickly, and it reverts back, and you try to. So what do you find? What do you think is best?
I've rarely heard of people really making dramatic changes. In almost everyone, it's slow and gradual, and those doubts and fears keep coming back. Now, Eckhart Tolle had a dramatic, incredible change, but that's so rare.
Right.
It's so rare.
Because, like, in your life, when you said you started as a poverty case, but you obviously didn't become a millionaire overnight. It took you years of affirming, doing the work.
Yes.
That's how you did that, right?
Yeah, it was just slow and gradual. And the doubts and fears kept coming back, and I'd keep affirming. And then over the years, the doubts and fears just get weaker and weaker and weaker, and your actions then get more and more confident and more focused and effective, until finally you're speaking and acting with an authority you didn't have before. But to me, it was very gradual. Although once I finally, my first 5 years were chaos and poverty and struggle. Then I finally found that affirmation. That really, it was, I think, finding these two things simultaneously that turned my life around. Doing a core belief process and realizing I believed I was a fool with money. Well, no wonder my company was chaos. So I started affirming I'm sensible and in control of my finances. I'm creating total financial success in an easy and relaxed manner, in a healthy and positive way. That, and hearing that phrase on the radio, within every adversity is an equal or greater benefit. Those two things happened about the same time, and that turned my company around fast. Within a few months, we were not losing money anymore. Within a year, we were solidly profitable and cruising, and have been ever since.
That's great. Thank you, Mark.
Yes. Anybody else?
Hello, Mark. Yeah, Mark, I have a question for you.
Okay.
The person, the editor that you let go, that wasn't doing the job quite right, have you ever found out what happened to her life?
Yeah. In fact, it's been very interesting. I didn't let her go until I came to really feeling that she wasn't in her right position in life. She wasn't doing her ideal. And that's one reason why it wasn't working. And I came around to really thinking it's better for her to let her go. She may not like it, but in that knock of life for her, she's going to find a great gift. And, in fact, I just heard about her today. It's funny that she went on to do what she loved, which is teaching piano. She loves teaching children piano. She's good at it. She loves the activity of it. It's perfect for her, so it all worked out.
I can hear that in your voice, that's something that meant something to you. And this is what I'm concerned with. I'm dealing with a partner that I have a little bit of a challenge whether he's in the right position and he's able to contribute to the company. And I'm not asking him to contribute 50%, but even 20 or 30%. And should I harm him by separating, or should I continue to help him along by doing the lion's share of the work?
Mm-hmm. Only you can answer that. I definitely have. I remember when I first started, I had two partners too, and I talk about this in Visionary Business. Bernie said partnerships don't work because inevitably one person is carrying more weight than another. And that can work fine as long as if you're completely in charge and it's your baby, that person then can work for you very smoothly. Or maybe it's not really what that person wants to do. One thing I did early on that was really helpful, I sat down with my two partners in the beginning, and we all did our 5-year ideal scene together. We said, what do we want to really be doing in 5 years? Assuming everything's gone as well as we can imagine, what would we like to be doing? And much to my amazement, the other two, their ideal scene didn't even include having anything to do with the company we were all working with. And that's when I realized, this is my baby. I founded it. I have to be in charge. I have to be the president. They can be vice presidents. They can be directors of marketing and directors of this and that, finance, but it's my baby. So maybe he's not really doing what he wants to do ideally, or if he is, maybe, you're just more capable and focused and it's more your baby, and that's fine. A 50-50 partnership will never work. I agree with Bernie there. And inevitably, one person contributes a lot more and will often come to feel, the other people, I wish they'd pick it up a few notches and, and set it up so that you avoid that, so you're not wanting him to contribute as much as you in some kind of equal partnership, because
I think
that won't happen.
Let me share this. I mean, even in marriage, I think that my dad taught me a long time ago that in marriage you need to feel like you're giving 60 or 70% and receiving 30 or 40, and then you're going to have a successful marriage. And you know, I kind of feel like that in my partnership as well. But and I agree with that, and I don't mind giving more. I just wonder if I'm doing the right thing, because at times I feel, you know, animosity towards him, because I don't think that he's really putting out the effort that he should be. So, you know, I mean, I think we all struggle with these things in life. And what I was kind of questioning on is when you let somebody go, and my dad also taught me this, that when you let somebody go, you're doing them a favor.
I came to really feel that, because they weren't being fulfilled. They weren't fully doing what they were passionate about. Because if they were, you just know that. And I had that sense. She wasn't really passionate about her job. It was a job for her, where she ended up doing something she was passionate about. Now, maybe you could sit down with your partner and share, you know, say sometimes you really, you know, you get those feelings that you mentioned, however you put it, and, you know, does he really want to be doing this job? And, you know, if so, how can you work it out so that those feelings don't come up? And for me, that would mean, you know, are you a 50-50 partnership now or something, like equal? Are you still there? Did I lose you? Well, anyway, I agree. Yes, hi.
Hi, Jerry has a question for you.
Good.
Hello, Mark.
Hi.
First of all, thanks for your very informative and inspirational dialogue tonight.
Sure.
Well, my personal plight is one more of a sense of direction than it is a financial one. I quit a very successful professional career about 2 years ago in the field of electrical engineering, and one day I kind of got fed up with the whole corporate/cubicle world, so to speak. And I'm sure a lot of people out there are, but I'd saved up enough money to take off a year and kind of figure out maybe a new direction for myself.
Good.
However, now it's been 2 years along, and I still haven't really figured out what to do. And I guess my question is to you is what kind of inspiration or sense that changed your direction in life, that kind of an awakening, so to speak, that led you into a new direction? I guess that's what I'm looking for now.
To me, it was my 30th birthday. I'd been an actor, and then I'd been in a rock band, and then I'd been a spiritual seeker, and I wandered around, and then I just tried to survive in a bunch of jobs and got fired a few times, and then I turned 30, and I had no job or anything. And I remembered a little exercise I'd learned about years ago, where I just put ideal scene at the top of the sheet of paper, and I thought, if everything had gone as well as I could imagine, what would my life look like in 5 years? And I wrote my dream, my ideal, and that tricked me into realizing what I was passionate about and the kind of life I really wanted to create just unfolded. That, for me, was enough to do it, just to really imagine, okay, it's 5 years later. It's 2013 now. What do you want to be doing in a perfect world? And really start with ideal. As Thoreau said, of course we have to imagine our castles in the air. That's where they should be. But then we put a foundation in them. So first start dreaming your greatest dream. If you could be anything, what would it be? If you still have trouble with even that, if you're drawing blanks, we did publish a great book by this career consultant called Work with Passion, How to Do What You Love for a Living, by Nancy Anderson. And she first has people write their whole autobiography, Then she reads it and then counsels them. And the book is like several sessions with a master career consultant who can really help people find out what they're passionate about and then see how to make that work.
Right. I'm sorry. Did you say her name? What was her last name?
Nancy Anderson. Her name is Anderson. Nancy Anderson. Work with Passion.
Okay. So, yeah, well, thank you for your answer. And it sounds like you're on to something with the writing some ideas down on paper. Probably
yeah. I mean, that's what tricked me. I actually also did a back to the land experiment in my early 20s. That was a disaster, but I remembered one night sitting around a fire, and this one couple said, let's play this game we play at church camp. Let's imagine 5 years have passed and everything has gone as well as you could imagine. What would your life look like? We went around the fire, and I don't remember a word of what I said, but when I turned 30, I remembered playing that game, and I thought, this is a good thing to do. But what changed my life was the day I turned 30, I wrote it down. I wrote ideal scene at the top of a sheet of paper and then wrote down my dream. And much to my amazement, I had a publishing company. And it just cruises along, and I don't work too hard. I have a life of ease, and I write books and record music. And my whole ideal just spilled out. And it gave me an absolute clear direction. I stared at it. I realized I had a whole list of goals there. Start a publishing company, start writing books, start recording music, start learning about real estate, because I had in there, I own a big house on a hill. And then once I had a list of goals, I started affirming them as if they're coming into being. And then for every major goal, I developed a one-page plan. And that's what did it. That was the little process that completely turned my life around.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mark.
Sure. Any other questions?
Okay, I have one.
Sure.
Okay, let's say you have an idea of what you want to do, but you're not sure because there's so many choices, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you gain the motivation and the focus? Besides affirmations, but I know they work, and you're probably going to say that. Is there anything besides affirmation?
Yeah, I think, I know a lot of people with the same kind of thing, and I did too. I always had so many different things I wanted to do that it was overwhelming at times. And I remember my doubts and fears saying, when I first decided I wanted to write books, record music, run a publishing company, get into real estate, I remember my doubts and fears saying, it's way too much. Just pick one thing, focus on that. And I thought, no, I want to do it all. I want to do it all. That's my dream. That's my ideal. And so I would just encourage you to go for it, whatever it may be. And if it doesn't work out, well, that's a message to go for something else. I mean, Deepak Chopra wrote in Creating Affluence that we published, within every desire is the seed and mechanics for its fulfillment. For me, that means go after every desire that you want, and you'll see the mechanics to get there. And start taking those steps, and then it'll become obvious to you if it's working or not, or if it's meant to be. Is that helpful?
Yes, definitely.
Good.
Yes, I just want to pick one before,
I'd say go for it, and don't even worry about having multiple things. I mean, right from the beginning, I said, okay, I want to focus on writing books and recording my music and creating a business and getting into real estate. And I decided, go for them all. There were a few other things there that fell by the wayside because they weren't meant to be. But all those things were meant to be because I just took steps on each one, whatever I could do, and it led to the next step and the next step. So don't be afraid of being a Renaissance person having multiple interests and, doing several things. That's wonderful to do. I would get totally bored if all I did was publish and if that was my full-time job. For me, full-time anything's boring. I just want to work when I feel like it, and I find, that's about maybe 20 hours a week at most on business. And when I'm writing a book, maybe 10, 15 hours a week writing. Then I've had it. And recording music is just very sporadic, and I do it when I feel like it. We have plenty of time. I have a 12 CD set, and I reflect there on time. And in my book, Millionaire Course, too. Most of us think there's not enough time. There's not enough time, and there's not enough money somehow. And those are just limiting beliefs. And we can literally reprogram our brains and start to see there's plenty of time and plenty of money in the world. There's plenty of time to do it all, to do everything. Plenty of time. If we look at the world that way. So go for it. I really encourage you to go for everything. If it's meant to be, it'll grow on its own momentum. If it's not meant to be, it won't happen. Is that helpful?
Thank you so much, Mark.
Sure.
I'll let you know how it goes between me and Jerry, too.
Do that. Do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I think it's gone on long enough, unless there's one more quick one.
I have a quick question.
Okay, good.
Pretty much the same question she asked, but a little different. Okay. I have a burning desire to have my own business. I've even picked out the name for it, but I just don't know what the product or service should be. And I'm just thinking, and I'm looking through magazines and looking at what other people did, to see if that would fit me, to get some ideas, but I still don't have it, Yeah. Where should I go to get more inspiration?
Let's see. I would, keep asking yourself, keep meditating on it, reflecting on it. Even before you go to bed at night, say, I got this from Silva Mind Control. Say, I will remember my dreams, and their meaning will be clear to me. And see what you dream of.
Okay.
So literally dream nighttime dreams, but also then in the daytime, and imagine your ideal scene. Imagine, okay, ideally, if everything went as well as you could imagine, what would your life look like in 5 years? What would you be doing on a typical day?
Okay.
And something there will trick you into realizing it.
So
and also, you don't have to find the one ideal thing for your product or service. It can change and grow, and it probably will.
Okay.
So, pick something and focus on it, and then see where it takes you.
Okay. Something that inspires me, like product or service is something that you should be enthusiastic about, right?
Definitely. It should be what you love. What do you really love to do? I
love aesthetic things, like Body Shop, that inspires me. Yeah, and I like environmental things that's going to help the earth.
Right.
Yeah, and so I will remember my dreams, and it will become clear to me.
Yeah.
You say that when I am in the alpha state, right?
Yeah, just as you're laying down and starting to drift off to sleep, say, I will remember my dreams and its meaning will be clear. Or if you really want, you could even specifically say, I want to be guided and see what's the best thing to focus on right now.
Okay.
What product or service is, the best use of my talents and abilities.
Okay.
And then see what answers you get.
All right.
Great.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you all. I enjoy doing this, otherwise I wouldn't do it, and I hope it's been helpful. Just keep looking at opportunities, benefits, and gifts and advantages every situation you have. And feel free to email me your miracle stories when miracles start happening, and they will. They will if you keep looking at opportunities in front of you. So be well, all of you. Happy holidays. Be at peace. Have a peaceful holiday. I hope you have some time for just relaxation and regeneration, and take it easy, and don't burn out over the holidays. So you need to get back to work in order to take a break. Find some time to relax and enjoy. This is the winter solstice, the longest night of the year. Time to go within and relax and rejuvenate. Take care, all. Be well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Happy
Good night.
holidays.
Good night. Happy holidays.